Carpentry by NJT is based in the western suburbs and has many years of experience to assist you in sourcing any and all of your carpentry needs. Carpentry by NJT are great supporters of local soccer clubs in Melbourne's western suburbs, including ambitious State League One outfit, Sydenham Park Soccer Club. Home Builders Corp, meanwhile, is a Melbourne-based construction company by the same owners with more than 15 years' experience. Home Builders Corp specialises in new homes and unit developments. With attention to detail, they work to the highest standard to satisfy their customers with a very quick turnaround. For further details about how either Carpentry by NJT or Home Builders Corp can help you, contact owner-manager Nick on 0410 576 018 or via email at nick@homebuilderscorp.com.au. Carpentry by NJT and Home Builders Corp are the proud major sponsors of the Football Out West show. Good evening, one and all, and welcome back after a 2-week break to the Football Out West show. It is episode 114 tonight. My name's Tonci Prusak. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you here for what is going to be a bumper show. And without further ado, introducing my co-host, Steve Curtin. Good evening, Steve. What a show we've got planned for everyone after a bit of a break last week.
That's right. We've come back with renewed vigour after a week off, and we've got some really good guests in the pipeline tonight. So we can't wait to have a chat to, three great names from Victorian football. And it's been a big week. We've been, Tonci, we've both been busy doing a fair bit of commentary as well. Yeah. Australia Cup is in full swing. Got to call my first penalty shootout the other night. Bit of excitement there. And you got to commentate the game from the back of a ute.
Yeah. Well, at the risk of people making jokes about Geelong and out in the sticks and this and that.
Country footy atmosphere.
Seemed like it, yeah. The Australia Cup, we're going to go through that during the news desk of our show. But yeah, to cut a long story short, I was doing a live broadcast on the back of a ute, a tray, if you like. In order to get that elevation, you know how it is, Steve. You got to get that elevation better that than a ground level. But it was surprisingly quite comfortable, even though it was very cold. This is out at North Geelong, St Albans. St Albans winning 1-0 and progressing through to the round 7. Like I said, we'll talk about that a bit later on. But quite a memorable experience. 2 nights or 3 nights earlier, I was at Melbourne Knights at Knights Stadium, calling the Melbourne Knights St Albans.
Good facility there to commentate from.
Unbelievable facilities,
like being in the MCG, that room.
It's fantastic. It is actually. Yeah. It is stunning. It is absolutely fantastic. And that was all done a few years back when the Melbourne Knights qualified for the round of 32. But, we're at that stage where we're almost one game away from the Victorian teams qualifying for the round of 32 and some surprises. But we'll talk about that a bit later on. Guests, though, tonight, Steve. You said 3. I think I've got 4.
There's actually 4. Guests. Are we going to have time? Are we going to have time to get through all of these guests?
Well, we're going to have to go through them. Steve, tell us, who are the guests that we've got tonight's show? On tonight's show.
Well, I know that one of our FE commentary colleagues, Mark Ivkovic, is very excited about this particular guest. He's one of his players he's got a bit of a man crush on. So this is Oakleigh Cannons number 10, Joe Guest, will be joining us. The gold medal winner from 2019 and one of the absolute superstars of Victorian football. So fantastic to have Joe joining us. Following on from him, we'll have Moreland City fullback Nick BAVCAR, or as Craig Filer would say, the better of the BAVCAR brothers. he will be joining us, and he'll be talking about their great result that they had over Bentleigh Greens on the weekend. Then we've got a couple more guests coming through. We've got Northcote City Vice-Captain LEO ATHANASIU. He's going to be joining us, so that's very exciting as well because they're going well in the cup competition as well. And then Upfield Soccer Club coach Ozan Kara is going to be joining us. So we've got an action-packed show. So we might have to crack on, mate. I don't know. We might not have time for any small talk tonight.
No, absolutely not. Although we it would be just mean of me not to mention Mark Ivkovic again. He's active in the comment section. Thank you very much to everyone that's involved in the comment section so far. Mark Ivkovic, Steve, as you know, my man crush is Steve White, but my first true love is Joe Guest. Can't wait for you too. Joe Guest is our guest tonight. Pardon the pun, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, I was just waiting for that, itching for that. We're going to get straight into the news desk, guys. As we said, huge show tonight. Lots to talk about and a lot of stuff happening in the news. Go Luton Town. Well, we've got to mention that as well. Don't go away, folks. Mate, shall we start with Luton Town and what a fairy tale story that is.
Yeah, all right. Let's check that one off. Luton Town played in the championship playoff final at Wembley overnight against Coventry City, and it's been a long time. Remember when I first started watching the EPL? Coventry City was in the Premier League with John Aloisi as their striker, but it was Luton Town, the Hatters, the town known for hat manufacturing and now an airport and a tiny stadium, which we might even have some pictures of to show. But they got over the line 6-5 from the penalty kicks, and Jordan Clark had opened the scoring for them on 23. Gustavo Hammer, he'd leveled things up with what was a hammer blow on 66, or could have been, but it didn't turn out to be because Luton got through. And how good are these pictures? There's the Oak Stand, the entrance. So you've got to walk through someone's lounge room, Tonci, to get into the away end here. This is fantastic. I think my team is relegated tonight. Maybe I'll have to follow the fortunes of Luton a little bit to make up for not having an EPL team potentially next season.
A big shout out to two junior coaches at the Geelong Rangers. Pete Bradley, who is a lot of people know Pete. Pete is a mad Coventry City fan. And to Stuart Mallon, who coaches the under-12s there at Rangers, Geelong Rangers. He is an absolute fanatical Luton Town supporter, big supporter of the Geelong Region Soccer Show. And the Football Out West show as well. But yeah, and another person as well, that George Dragovic. He's the president of the Croatian Australian Soccer Association. He lives in Williamstown and is involved with the Melbourne Knights. Mate, we're actually family friends. We go back to our childhood. And one of my fondest childhood memories is when they used to come and visit on a Sunday afternoon, and he wanted to watch big league soccer or whatever it was called. I can't remember the ABC, BBC show. He was mad about a fella called Paul Walsh from Luton Town. He was the Gary Ablett of Luton Town at the time, and I still remember that as as a very fond childhood memory. So I tell you what, Steve, I will definitely be following the fortunes of Luton Town in the EPL next year, and yeah, big shout out to Stuart and George. And look, if you are a Luton Town fan or a Coventry City fan, pop it down in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. Brenton Ray, the newsman, if there's nothing that this man doesn't know, it's not worth knowing. But thanks, Brenton, for that little bit of information. 91-92 was the last time that Luton Town played in the top flight, when it was the old First Division ways. Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So well done to Luton Town. Let's move on.
Excellent news. Yeah, let's move on. We'll rush through a few more news items that have popped up this week. One of the big ones is that the Socceroos are going to be playing Argentina, a rematch of that round of 16 game from Qatar back in, November, and maybe a chance to get in the back. It won't be on Australian soil. It won't be in Buenos Aires, though. It will be in Beijing, this match. So That's coming up on the 15th of June, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So not the worst time, I suppose. I'm happy to sit up until midnight to watch the end of that one. And look, maybe Gary Qual, who almost beat Emi Martinez in that match late on, and he scored his first goal for Hearts during the week against Rangers. Maybe he can get one past Argentina this time, and we can get a result against them. So, yeah, exciting news with the Socceroos playing the world champions, and a bit of Olyroos news as well. The Olyroos are heading to Dushanbe in Tajikistan. It's a place where they've got familiar with. They've been through qualifying campaigns there before. They've been drawn in the group with Tajikistan, Laos, and DPR Korea, or North Korea, if you like. If we win the group, we'll go into that Under-23 Asian Cup in Qatar for 2024. And the best, the top 4 best second place teams out of the 11 groups will go through as well. So we just win the group, I think, and get through will be the plan. And it's funny, when the Olympics roll around, you sort of think, oh yeah, we've made it, and then you sort of forget the journey to get there is long and arduous. We have to finish in the top 3 teams in that Under-23 Asian Cup after qualifying for it, if we do so, to get an automatic spot. And if we finish 4th, we can have a playoff against an African nation for a spot in Paris for 2024. So look, a lot of opportunities for our under-23 players to show their wares, and it can only provide good experience for them when they reach the senior national team level at Tonci. So an exciting time ahead, but some of the A-League clubs might be a little bit frustrated about their availability of their good young players in the coming season. But that's what it's all about, developing good players.
Yeah, Steve, not just the A-League clubs, but I think, with all due respect to Tajikistan, Laos, and Northern Korea, but fair income, look at that group. If Australia can't qualify in top spot, there'll be a lot of football fans in Australia frustrated. But no, we've got faith in the Olyroos. There's some great talent coming up. We talked about the Australia Cup competition. Let's quickly talk about that as well. The round of 7 has been drawn.
Yeah, so round 7 is out. So these teams are only 1 win away from the national phase, which is so exciting. So those final 10 teams, they are on your screen, but the fixtures and the times have largely been announced. So the Tuesday, the 6th of June, we'll see the competition round 7 kick off, Goulburn Valley Sun. So we've got 2 regional teams as well, Tonci, that have made this phase. It hasn't happened before. So up in Shepparton, they've been drawn another home game, and it was good to see them playing their last game at home too, with a local crowd up there in Northeast Victoria enjoying the magic of the cup. They're playing Hume City this time, a harder opponent, but I wouldn't put it past them to actually maybe record this a little bit. I wouldn't put it past them to cause an upset against Hume City on the 6th of June up there at John McEwen.
Oh, there we go. They did win on the weekend, and we'll talk a bit later on when we do the NPL3 roundup, and it was a very good win too. But yeah, you might be right, mate. You might be right.
Yeah, and the other matches on the same night at Olympic Village, Heidelberg United hosting St Albans. Those 2 teams are, not firing on all cylinders in the league, but they've progressed in the cup. The other match, Northcote City and FC Clifton Hill, that one hasn't got an official time. I'm not sure if Brenton Ray's got one, but I think that one is still to be scheduled. It may be happening on June the 6th, but we'll see. Tuesday, June 13th, the following week, Melbourne Knights hosting Yarraville. So an all Western suburbs clash, a real football out west derby atmosphere at that one at Knight Stadium at 7:30. And then the same night as well, Oakleigh Cannons will be entertaining Geelong, who will make the long trip from Stead Park across the city for an 8 o'clock kickoff that night. And Geelong have done well to make it to this phase, but they've drawn a pretty stiff opponent to compete against in the Oakleigh Cannons away from home as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be speaking of the Oakleigh Cannons, we'll be speaking to Joe Guest, their talisman and midfielder, very, very shortly. Hopefully he'll be joining us in the green room very, very shortly. We'll be speaking to NICK BAVCAR from the Moreland City Football Club, Leo Athanasiou, Northcote City's vice-captain, and last but not least, and hopefully in that order, Upfield SC coach Ozan Kara. They got promoted into State League 1. I'm really looking forward to chatting to Ozan. It is always good to have a bit of a chat to some of the lower league clubs as well. But is that it from the news desk, or is there anything else?
That feels like a lot. Oh, we're going to touch on as well a bit of Aussies abroad news you had for us, Tonci.
Yes.
Sam Kerr making it 4 WSL titles with Chelsea, and well played by her. She was also this week awarded for the second year in a row the Football Writers Player of the Year as well, where she took a cheeky selfie with Erling Haaland, which was good. Or maybe Erling Haaland was getting the selfie taken with Sam Kerr, more to the point. And Ange Postecoglou there. Look at that, back to back. And
yeah, brilliant.
Remember that little video there of Alan Brazil having that little... I don't know, character assassination on Ange when he was first signed. And some of the comments from Tottenham Hotspur supporters as well this week have been rather amusing. People that really need to they don't know a good manager when they see one. And Ange Postecoglou is a living legend of Australian sport right now.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Great to see Aussies doing well abroad and capturing titles and being responsible for titles. Really is. Look, we're going to take a very short break. When we return, if Joe Guest isn't ready to join us, we may actually have a look at the NPL3 Victoria competition and the NPLW competition, and then we'll get into the roundup. But there's going to be lots and lots to talk about. Joe has just arrived in the green room. He'll be getting himself ready. So after this short break, we will be joined by Joe Guest from the Oakleigh Cannons. Cannot wait for that.
Welcome to Anytime Fitness in Werribee.
The club with the most supportive, welcoming and friendliest members and staff.
Whether you're a first-timer, gym goer or just an everyday person, we are here for you.
A recently renovated facility offers you everything you need to get started with your health and fitness goals.
Our club offers brand new state-of-the-art cardio equipment, an amazing functional zone for group classes, a lifting zone, and really does cater for every single person. So don't miss out. Come see us in club to redeem this offer.
Yes, Anytime Fitness, it is getting cold, and this is, I always say, if you're going to get a body fit for summer, now's the time to start, folks. Now is the time to start. See the folks there at Anytime Fitness, they'll look after you. Steve, it's time for us now to get our first guest on. But before we do that, let's have a very, very quick look at the NPL1 competition, and let's go through the results of the latest games played this weekend, and let's start off with the games played on Friday night.
Yeah, actually, if you don't mind, I've got them lined up in reverse order.
Okay, let's do that.
Recency bias. Craig and I were just on hand at Lakeside to see Jack Painter Andrews finish be the difference between South Melbourne and Green Gully, 1-0. Stephen Downs' Green Gully, they do slump to their fourth defeat in a row, but they played some really good football in the second half of this one, and South Melbourne just defended stoutly until they hung on till the 90th minute for their seventh consecutive win as well, if you don't mind. Avondale, free scoring Avondale, Xander Guy, friend of the show, a recent guest, he scored a couple of goals in injury time to make it a hat-trick for him. Liam Boland also scoring, and Stefan Zinni. Good to see Jonas Markowski back. A lot of late goals in that game as well after the 85th minute mark. So I have to go back and look at the highlights of that one. Port Melbourne, 4-0 over North Geelong. Mel's Mo Adam, Christian Bombarci back at the Sharks, and Daniel Edwards, 4 individual goal scorers. There was a bit of chaos yesterday at Churchill Reserve. Jasko Kranovic sent off on 18 minutes, and then goals for the Thunder: Mehmeti, Adams, Grad Damon and Casper Hallam. 4-0 winners on the road there. They move into the top 6 at the expense of the Green Gully side there. So Dandenong Thunder, they're just creeping up under the radar of a few clubs. They are. Moreland City in a real 6-point game. Christos Theodorakopoulos scoring against his old club, but Fletcher Fulton, he just keeps finding the back of the net. Apia Akuno, 2 goals within 6 minutes of that game starting for the Moreland attackers, and Jamie Latham as well, 3-1 winners. And on Friday night, it was the Oakleigh Cannons 2-2 with the Knights. Anton Mlinarovic scoring his second goal in as many weeks, the central defender. Alex Salmon also scoring for his new club. Corey Sewell, who's been fantastic for the Knights, and Sumayoro leveling things up. And it was a goal by Kenny Athieu, which separated Heidelberg United and Hume City also on Friday night. So the 3 points staying at Olympic Village.
Yeah, now it's our pleasure to bring on someone who is a very, very big, a very focal actor in Friday night's big game, big blockbuster, and it certainly lived up to all expectations, the Oakleigh Cannons and the Melbourne Knights. And he is the former best and fairest winner of the NPL Victoria competition. And I think it was the 2019 season, was it?
2019, I think.
Yeah. Let's ask him and get the answer from the horse's mouth. It's Joe Guest, and Joe, well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us here on the Football Out West show. How are you?
No worries, boys. Thanks for having me. I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good,
Very well,
good.
Thanks.
Now, was it 2019, the year that you won the league best and fairest?
It was, yeah, 2019, the first year that I was here. So, yeah, hopefully I can do that again at some point. But 2019 was the year that I won it.
Yeah, no, fantastic.
Very good. And how are you travelling at the moment, Joe? You've missed out on a couple of matches. Then you were back in the team on Friday night with an assist for Alex Salmon. That was your 10th assist of the season in 11 games. You've been quite generous to your teammates this season. How do you see your form and your fitness and your recovery from your recent, was it an injury that kept you out the last couple of weeks?
I wish it was. Unfortunately, it was a suspension. So, yeah, it was just one of them things. So, it's obviously no one likes missing games, but... Yeah, I was chomping at the bit to get back in on Friday and help the boys and have an impact, and feel as though we did that, but we didn't quite get the result we wanted in the end, so that was disappointing. But now I was happy to be back, and in terms of how the season's going, we're ticking along nicely, but we need to make up ground on that top two because they don't like they're going to drop too many points.
Now, Joe, as we can see some of the highlights from Friday night's game. It's games like these. It was touted as a blockbuster, third versus fourth, and usually sometimes those games can be a little bit stale and whatnot. But this one really, really lived to the blockbuster billing. What's it like, mate? Playing in these games, knowing that there's going to be a good crowd, there's probably going to be a good viewership as well. There's a lot at stake. These are the games that players really live for, don't they, in the NPL competition?
Definitely, yeah. Obviously, we went into the game knowing that obviously we wanted 3 points, like I say, to try and make up some ground on the top two. A lot of the boys that were in our team obviously played in a number of big games last year, and they're the games you want to play. Obviously, we're positioned a minute in third, but we're in all three competitions, so we're just looking forward to the remainder of the big games. There's still yet to come, and there's plenty to play for from our perspective. And
Joe, some of the comments coming in, Friday night's game was the highest quality I've seen all season, says Mark Ivkovic. What have you made of the Knights this season? I think you've drawn with them on both occasions. They're definitely an improved side. How do they compare to those other teams in the top four?
Yeah, definitely. They were, fair play to them in both games. They were quite similar away. We started well. Felt as though we probably could have had the game wrapped up at half time. And in the second half, we didn't take our chances first half and they came back into it. And it was probably a similar story on Friday, I would say. We dominated for 45 minutes, had a number of chances, pressed high and, won the ball off them because they like to try and play out. But they stuck to their philosophy, if you like, and carried on to doing that in the second half. And we got tired towards the end. And, yeah, they got maybe what you could say the draw they deserved in the end. But obviously we were disappointed that the game wasn't done when we felt it should have been.
Yeah, now, Joe, I called the Melbourne Knights St Albans game a week earlier, and along with Mark Ivkovic, who is in the comments section, and Mark made a really good point. They play this very frustrating brand of football, very patient, very patient, and it frustrates other teams. Were you like, did Chris Taylor give you sort of a game plan to sort of thwart that type of football that they were going to play? Was it hit them hard really early, or was it get them on the back foot, or did you just approach it as a normal game?
I think when we play at home, we fancy our chances against anyone, no matter who we're playing. We try and play in a similar way. We try and press from the front straight away, high intensity, and we did that and it worked. We won the ball back high. We created a lot of chances. Obviously, got the 2 goals. But maybe second half we tried to continue to play in that way, and no one can do that for 90 minutes, or it was difficult to do for 90 minutes. So I think in the end that probably cost us. We were still playing as though the game was 0-0. At 2-0 we maybe could look into that, and maybe we should have sat a little bit deeper and maybe tried to frustrate them. But they, like I say, they stuck to the guns and they carried on passing and got the 2 goals. So yeah, it was disappointing in the end. It was one of them draws that feels a bit like a loss. So we went into the dressing room afterwards thinking we'd thrown away a 2-0 lead and dropped 2 points. But when we've watched it back, there's lots of positives to take from it at the same time. So we've just got to move forward now and focus on ourselves and concentrate on what we're doing rather than looking at what's going on around us.
And Joe, you guys have been really strong on your attacking set pieces this season. From what I hear, that's something that Chris and the coaching staff, and you might even have a specialist who deals in that area, that you've worked on in the off season and week to week, and it's really brought you some good results this season.
Yeah, I think the specialist is the lad that's taking them. But no, it's worked well for us so far. We've had a number of goals from them opportunities, so it's just one of them things that obviously, it's working at the minute. We've just got to keep hoping that it works for us. And it's not necessarily something that we work on week in, week out, but it's been a big threat for us, and hopefully it continues to be so.
Now, Joe, we've got the pleasure every week of looking at the NPL, NPL2 and NPL3 competitions. And the NPLW, everything here. We're biased. Of course we're biased. We're going to say it's the best competition there is, certainly the best NPL competition there is in Victoria. But this year in particular, it's been very even, both at the top and at the bottom. There's so many little plots and subplots. In your opinion, is it a better standard competition this year, or is it just more entertaining overall?
I think, obviously you'll see week in, week out, there's shock results, but at the same time, the leading four, if you like, aren't dropping many points. So we're going into every game from our perspective thinking we can't afford to drop points here, because the standard of the other two that we're trying to chase down, as you've seen again this weekend when we've not managed to secure 3 points, they've gone and won again. So the standard's good, but like we saw last year when we finished in third and managed to win the grand final at the end of it. So as long as you're in and amongst it by the time finals come around, then you've always got a fighting chance.
And one of the big things will be keeping that squad. It seems like a deep squad that Chris has assembled this year. And last year the fixtures came thick and fast at the back end, and it would have got pretty tough. But you guys did well to carry on and take out the big silverware at Olympic Village that night against South. But you've got really good depth. Last week you had Valentini coming on off the bench. This week you had the new signing Fiegner coming on, who's your top scorer, just coming on casually off the bench in the 86 minutes. How competitive is it at training to get a spot in the starting 11 for these sorts of guys?
Well, yeah, as you mentioned last year, we sort of did what we achieved with 11, 12 players, which is even more amazing from our perspective, really. So when we spoke in the summer, or when CT spoke to me, the aim was to, strengthen the squad and not have to go through that again, because we were, I would say, literally on our last legs in some of them games towards the back end of the season. And yeah, it was a great achievement to do what we did. But yeah, now we've got, people fighting for positions all over the pitch. And it's probably only now, I would say, in the last few weeks where we've probably got a fully fit squad for the first time. Not many injuries. So the level has gone up. Training's enjoyable. It's everyone's, it's 100 mile an hour. There's probably 14 or 15 lads that are training thinking I should be in this team, which is what you want. There's competition for places. And yeah, as a manager, it's probably a difficult decision for CT to have to make week in, week out. But at the same time, it's a nice headache to have, I would imagine.
Yeah, another nice headache to have is the fact that you've got a great run of games in the next 3-4 weeks, all at home, by the way. Dandenong Thunder, who's going to be a tricky one. There's, as Steve said earlier in the show, they're really coming under the radar. Then we've got Heidelberg and St Albans, so 4 consecutive home games. Then you've also got a cup game coming up against Geelong. Now, some of those games against lowly opposition and even the cup game against Geelong, their NPL3 opposition. This time of year, is it easy to sort of, the concentration wanes a little bit, or Chris has got you guys, firmly focused on the task at hand?
I think, obviously, at any level, you've got to try and pick up as many points as you can in your home games. So it's going to be important for us to go into them games and not expect to win, but, we've got to go in there believing that we can.
Great attitude.
But yeah, it's I would say, obviously, that from our point of view, they're all winnable games. We're going to be eyeing up maximum points, and obviously getting into the last 32 of the Australia Cup's big for the club to try and repeat what we did last year. Everyone that was involved in that knew that experience was special. So yeah, there's, like I said at the top of the interview, that there's still loads to play for. We know, obviously, it's at the halfway point of the year, but the business end is when we really want, to peak, and we feel as though we're gearing up nicely to be able to do that.
And one last question for me, Joe, and thanks again for your time. You've got the Dandy Thunder, as we mentioned, coming up this Friday night. Have you seen their fortunes? They seem to be on the rise a little bit, and also playing at home. It seems like an intimate venue. I haven't been out there to Jack Edwards for a few years, but how much of an advantage do you get? You seem to play good football at that venue.
They're a good side, Thunder. I mean, we played them early on in the season away. Obviously, this is the reverse fixture, and they gave us a good game. We scored very late on to win the game 2-1, which was a massive result for us at the time. We played them not long ago in I think it was the round before last in the Australia Cup, in which obviously that was a home game for us, and we managed to sweep them aside pretty unscathed. So hopefully, we'd take the second game, a repeat of the second game rather than the first one. But yeah, we're going to expect a tough challenge, and we've just got to go into it focusing on ourselves and expecting to carry out what CT wants us to do, and hopefully that gets us 3 points.
Well, thanks very much, Joe, for joining us on the show tonight. Wishing you all the very best for the rest of the year and the upcoming Australia Cup clash. One game away from the national stage, and Oakleigh's been there, semi-finalist last year. So we look forward to seeing you in action over the next few weeks.
Appreciate it, boys. Thanks for having me.
Good on you, Joe.
All the best for the rest of the season.
Joe Guest joining us there from the Oakleigh Cannons. We're going to keep on talking about the NPL Victoria competition. It is really becoming quite an interesting competition, as we mentioned, both at the top as well as at the bottom. And we were just talking with one of the teams who's in at third top. Now we're going to be talking with the team that is third bottom, and they're just outside the relegation zone, but they did very, very well on the weekend. And we're, of course, talking about Moreland City. We'll be joined by NICK BAVCAR, their fullback, very, very shortly after this break. Folks, don't go away. It is the Football Out West show, and thank you to all of our businesses and clubs that support us regularly. Our major sponsor this year, Carpentry by NJT, and what is it?
And Home Builders Corp.
Home Builders Corp. That's the one. My apologies there. I'm looking at the ad that we have to run next. Don't go away, folks. We'll be back straight after this ad break.
Carpentry by NJT is based in the western suburbs and has many years of experience to assist you in sourcing any and all of your carpentry needs. Carpentry by NJT are great supporters of local soccer clubs in Melbourne's western suburbs, including ambitious State League One outfit, Sydenham Park Soccer Club. Home Builders Corp, meanwhile, is a Melbourne-based construction company by the same owners with more than 15 years' experience. Home Builders Corp specialises in new homes and unit developments. With attention to detail, they work to the highest standard to satisfy their customers with a very quick turnaround. For further details about how either Carpentry by NJT or Home Builders Corp can help you, contact owner-manager Nick on 0410 576 018 or via email at nick@homebuilderscorp.com.au. Carpentry by NJT and Home Builders Corp are the proud major sponsors of the Football Out West show.
Yes, thank you to Carpentry by NJT and Home Builders Corp for sponsoring the Football Out West show this year. It's now time, Steve, to bring on our next guest. He is the Moreland City fullback, and they had a really good win on the weekend. It was a 6-pointer. Oh, I love that term because I've been involved in a lot of games where I've called the action 6-pointers, and this one truly was Moreland City defeating Bentleigh Greens 3-1. And one of the key protagonists, one of the key actors in that game was our next guest, Moreland City fullback NICK BAVCAR. Nick, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Steve.
Yeah, Nick, thanks for joining us tonight. Now, first of all, the match against Bentleigh Greens, what was it like playing against your old teammate, Chris Theodorakopoulos, on the weekend? Did you give him any jibes as he ran past or anything, or did he give you any back after he scored?
No, it was pretty low-key, to be honest. Obviously, we knew Christos from his time at Moreland. Obviously, he had a bit of success last year winning the NPL2 championship, and yeah, he departed for Bentleigh, and there was no sort of bitter feeling between us. I mean, still, all the boys had a great relationship, and I mean, personally, I didn't really say anything to him, but I mean, after the game, it was good to catch up, have a chat with him as well. So it he was very respectful in that mindset. But yeah, during the game, I think it's all business, and we just had to do what we had to do, and very happy to come away with the 3 points there.
Yeah, if we look at the ladder, they're Moreland City in 12th position at the moment, but 3 points clear and a superior goal difference over Bentleigh Greens. At the moment, it certainly looks the way things are travelling. North Geelong will definitely be one of the teams relegated, which is one of the teams that came up from NPL2 alongside you guys, Nick. But Bentleigh Greens at the moment, after last weekend as well, they are certainly looking down the barrel, and that's not good news for the Bentleigh Greens. But Moreland City, let's talk about City. It has been a tough initiation into the NPL this year, and that obviously probably, I guess, illustrates the big difference in standard between NPL2 and NPL. Your next few weeks, your next, couple of months, how are you approaching it, week by week, or have you kind of set yourself a certain target of points to achieve by season's end, or what's the strategy now for survival? I ask a lot of questions, don't I?
No, it's a great question, because for us, like North Geelong, newly promoted to the league, so it is a bit of a baptism of fire, but I think we're under no illusion how tough the division would be. Coming from NPL2. So, every game, it's an absolute battle. Teams are a lot more quality players. So for us, I think it is a week-by-week basis. So obviously we're out of the cup now, so we've got a sort of full week to prepare for our opponents coming up. And, any point is a good point, especially in the situation we are in, fighting relegation. Let's be honest. So, it is week-by-week, but we believe on our day that we can be as competitive as possible and try to match it with even some of the better teams in the competition. It is tough, but we put our best foot forward.
And you mentioned the Australia Cup game there, unfortunately knocked out by Northcote City. You probably don't want me to bring that one up, actually, which is probably fair enough. But how did you see them? They look like one of the teams to beat in the NPL2 at the moment, or did they just have a good night?
No, I think that they are quality. They play good football. They are very well coached under Zelko, so they've got some really handy players as well. So they'll be up there in the NPL2 competition, and I think NPL2 is so competitive. If you look at the table,
oh, is it ever?
So I think for us, we're happy to be out of that league, but Northcote, so many teams that can vie for that top 2 spot. So it's really anyone's game in NPL2.
Yeah, we'll be talking NPL2 football very shortly with the Northcote City Vice-Captain LEO ATHANASIOU. Watch out, Nick, what you say. Lou, you might see Leo. You might see him in the change rooms later. So it is. We call it the chaos competition, honestly. And over the weekend, oh my gosh, I think that's the reason Craig Filer wasn't able to come on the show tonight. I think they're still celebrating the Werribee City victory over Preston.
They are.
That was insane. And Steve, you called that. But look, it is. It just makes the competition, whether it's the NPL, NPL2 or NPL3, just so riveting at the moment. We're just saying that with Joe Guest at the prior. It just makes for real fascinating football at the moment, Nick, as a fan.
Yeah, my brother, he referees in NPL2 and NPL, and I love going to watch his games and just general watching the football down at the lower levels as well. So some really good teams that are all capable to play up the division, and there's some really good games of football out there. So.
Let's be honest, Nick. You love going to those games to watch to hear your brother copping all that abuse, right? That way you don't have to give it to him.
I'm lucky. I'm behind the fence. It's not easy. Because,
no, it's not.
The amount he cops, it is quite a bit, but he's got thick skin, so he just sort of brushes it off. And from the sidelines, it's an easy gig behind the fence. So full credit to my brother. He does the best he can, and obviously can't please everyone. So.
No, that's for sure.
Is he going to try and persuade you to take up the whistle if you were to hang up the boots one day?
I reckon one day he's got enough uniform there to give me a kick. So I think once I hang it up, maybe some junior refereeing. I don't know. See what happens in the future.
Actually, they do a good job. I've watched a lot of junior games and a lot of senior games this season, and it is very difficult. It really, really is, but seems to be doing well. Let's turn our attention now, speaking about week-by-week proposition. Nick, let's talk turn our attention to this week coming Saturday night game at CB Smith Reserve, or Saturday afternoon game at 3 p.m. Moreland City taking on Port Melbourne Sharks. Now, they're an interesting team. They're doing really well at the moment. But when you guys met at JL Murphy Reserve earlier this year, it was a 1-1 draw. What's the secret to breaking them down, and can you repeat that or even do one better and beat them?
Yeah, well, I think it's obviously the first time we played them. Got a 1-1 draw against Port, and again they're well structured, well drilled, got some really good footballers. They play really good football. I think for us in that game we had quite a few chances as well, so it really could have gone either way in the end. Obviously that was early on in the season. Now everyone's got sort of 13, 14 games under their belt, so everyone will be a lot more on the ball these days. So for us, again, put our best foot forward, try to match them and see if we can come away with something in the game. But yeah, Port Melbourne, they're in the top 6 at the moment, so they're playing some really good football to be up there. And for us, just to build on last week's performance against Bentleigh, we've got the 3 points, and hopefully that gives us a bit more confidence, I guess, going into this Saturday.
And I was actually calling that game when you guys drew at Port Melbourne earlier in the season. Gee, it feels like a long, long time ago now. But you guys played really well that day. And I remember you were unlucky to go behind through a Chris Duggan goal, but you fought back and got a well-deserved point in the end there at JL Murphy. But you'll have some confidence probably from that and last week's result as well. But what was the message that Adrian sent you out with when you were taking on the Bentleigh Greens in what was a really, really important game last week? Did you guys feel the pressure of that? And what did Adrian say before the game?
Well, funny enough, it's been a bit of a difficult week for the club because we had our coach, Adrian Mathers, he actually resigned on Tuesday.
Oh.
So it was a bit of a shock to the boys on Tuesday that he came out and he announced it himself. So, then Thursday we had obviously our assistant coach, Dave, and Taff step into the role. So, and then Saturday coming to the game, it was just pretty much clear, concise messages, just go out there, give it your all, and obviously try to do it for 80 as well, because he's been at the club for over 23 years as a player and then assistant coach and then now the head coach. And he decided to part ways on Tuesday. So obviously we did it for 80 and everyone back at the club. But we know it's just 3 points and obviously, but good to get a win for him and just to lift spirits around the club a bit, I guess.
Well, Adrian has been a past guest on this show, so we wish him all the very best with his future endeavours, and hopefully everything is okay there behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Second that, a really good supporter of our show is Adrian, and I look forward to seeing him around at the grounds in the future still to say hello.
Yeah. But that game, getting back to that game, Moreland City hosting Port Melbourne Sharks. That's at CB Smith Reserve on Sunday at 3 p.m. Other games, look at the original derby on Friday night. Melbourne Knights taking on South Melbourne at Knight Stadium. That's at 7:30 p.m. We've got 4 Friday night games. Green Gully hosting Bentleigh Greens, the Battle of the Greens. Oakleigh Cannons at home to Dandenong Thunder, and Heidelberg United taking on St Albans Saints in a curtain raiser to their Australia Cup clash, which is going to be at the same venue in a couple of weeks' time. And then on Saturday, North Geelong hosting Altona Magic, and then Hume City taking on Avondale. That's on Saturday night. No Sunday games next week, so a lot of games being played on Friday and on Saturday. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate you taking your time on a Sunday night and coming to join us here on the Football Out West show. Wishing you and the club, Moreland City, all the very, very best for the remainder of the season.
Beautiful, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Nick. Good luck next weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Good on you. Yes, well, we're going to take a very, very quick break, and when we return, we'll be moving along to the NPL2 Victoria competition. Well, as I said, lots to talk about tonight. There is so much to get through. So, folks, we've only got to about the halfway mark of the show, and we're already 45 minutes in. We've got from Northcote City, their Vice-Captain LEO ATHANASIU. He'll be joining us after this break. Don't go away, folks.
Welcome to Anytime Fitness in Werribee.
The club with the most supportive, welcoming and friendliest members and staff.
Whether you're a first-timer, gym goer or just an everyday person, we are here for you.
A recently renovated facility offers you everything you need to get started with your health and fitness goals.
Our club offers brand new state-of-the-art cardio equipment, an amazing functional zone for group classes, a lifting zone, and really does cater for every single person. So don't miss out. Come see us in club to redeem this offer.
Welcome back to the Football Out West Show, and it's time to talk the Chaos competition, the Chaos League, which is NPL2 Victoria. Steve, mate, what a weekend of results in NPL2 Victoria. We're going to speak to our guest very, very shortly. He's the Northcote City Vice-Captain LEO ATHANASIou. But before we do that, let's have a look at the results of the games played over the weekend and the state of affairs in the NPL2 Victoria competition.
Yeah, so Friday night, we'll go back to there, and Dandenong City with a thrilling win, 3-2 over Pascoe Vale down there at Frank Holohan. Also, Brunswick Juventus won, Kingston City 5, so an emphatic win for Kingston City on the road on Friday. Another emphatic win for a team on the road, Werribee City, 3-1 over the Preston Lions at BT Connor. Werribee putting in their performance of the season there. Yesterday, it was 0-0 between Manningham United Blues and the Eastern Lions, and we'll talk more about this result. Langwarrin 1, Northcote City 2 from yesterday. A good away win for Northcote. Another good away win was for Bulleen Lions away at the Melbourne City youth team, and another away win. Just all these teams on the road getting the wins. Brunswick City 2-1 over Western United's NPL squad this afternoon to round out the Chaos League round 2. So the top two teams going into the round both lost. This is living up to its reputation, Tonci.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nuts. It is nuts. And to find out exactly from the coalface what it's like, we're going to bring our next guest. It's an absolute pleasure to the Northcote City Vice-Captain LEO ATHANASIou. I hope I pronounced that correctly. How are you, Leo? Welcome to the Football Out West Show. Oh, no, we've got a problem with his audio. Oh, no. Oh, hello?
Is that better?
That's
there we go.
Yep.
Take out my headphones.
Perfect. Perfect.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, great result on the week. Yeah, great result on the weekend. 2-1, really important game that one was against Langwarrin. Take us through that game and how it eventuated from your end. A tough away game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's always tough to travel out that way for the clubs this side of town. So I thought we started on the front foot, and unfortunately we did go a player down, but the boys stuck together, and I think in the end we just had a bit of quality to get over the top of them with a 2-1 win.
And you guys are looking good in all competitions at the moment, the Australia Cup as well. I think maybe did you miss getting to play the game against Moreland City, but a 2-1 win at John Cain the other Tuesday night. How did the boys enjoy that?
Yeah, it was really good. I think that just goes to show that we've sort of built a strong squad, and it doesn't really matter who we put in. There's players that are going to fill a role and do a job. So it's nice to be alive in both competitions, and it sort of gives the coaches the opportunity to rotate players and give minutes to those who need it. So, yeah, it is nice to be still alive in that.
Yeah. Go on, Steve.
And then, I guess the obvious flow-on question, the next match is against FC Clifton Hill. Do you know if that match will be on June the 6th, or is it possibly the following week?
I'm not quite sure just yet. I think the club's trying to figure out when they can schedule that. I know it will be within the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we can have a nice turnaround to that game and freshen up for it and get to that next round. So I think everyone's looking forward to trying to progress through that round.
And then you're only that win away from the national phase. It's really, really exciting, and drawn against a state league opponent as well. It's a really good draw for you guys, so a really good opportunity. I imagine you'll be going at that game fairly seriously.
Yeah, for sure. I think once you get to that pointy end of the competition, everyone doesn't take a backward step, and it doesn't matter if you're against a state league club or an NPL club. In the end, it's on the day you just never know what clubs are going to bring. So it's got to take what we can into that game and make sure we get through.
And then potentially an A-League team rocking up at John Cain on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night on national TV. How does that excite you?
Yeah, that's it. I think that's what all the clubs are playing for. Like not so much just for the players, but for the whole club and the community to see that, and for the younger kids at the club would just be great. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we get a good draw. If we get past that next stage, you can't look too far ahead.
Yeah. Oh, if we exactly right. Let's not look too far ahead. Let's look at next week, and we go on about, and I think our viewers are sick of us talking about the chaos competition or the chaos league, because every week something just happens. But look, next week or this Friday coming, you've got a game against bottom side Brunswick Juventus here at John Cain Reserve there. And, on paper, it would sort of say, yeah, it's going to be an easy game and you're going to win this game. But in reality, no one knows until they turn up, and no one knows it's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde sort of a situation. You don't know which team's going to show up. How do you prepare for this? Are you just preparing it, I ask this question a lot. Do you prepare for these games as a just normal game? Or
it's a tough one. I think, like you said, you're playing a bottom side, and sometimes it's those games that catch you off guard because they really need to win. They're ready to go. They're 110%. So I think we do what we do every week, and the coaching staff has their little routine and does their analysis on how we prepare and how we're going to set up, and hopefully on the day the boys have done the right thing and we rock up and give our best. So that's all you can do every week. Like you say, you just never know. It doesn't matter if you're playing the top team or the bottom team. You got to make sure on your game, otherwise anyone can beat anyone.
Yeah, definitely. And how is the squad handling the fixtures at the moment with the league and cup in this time of year when fatigue can set in and maybe a bit of rotation is needed? How are the boys handling that, and is the depth of the squad sufficient to deal with all of these games?
Yeah, we've been doing pretty well. I think credit to the boys that have been sitting on the bench and then jump in straight away and do a job for us. So I think the coaching staff have done a great job to keep the boys around and make sure they're fit and ready to go. So I know obviously every club has their niggles and has to rotate players, but at the moment we've hit it sort of a little bit of a purple patch, and we've got lots of boys back to play, so that helps out.
Yeah. Now, at the moment, we're 8th or 6th position there, but it's only like 4 points behind the top team, Western United, who, by the way, lost today. All it takes is a good run of results, and you're fighting for promotion. You're there up amongst the very, very head. Has Northcote City, and this is going to be a tough question, have you guys got what it takes to get up there and fight amongst the top 2, top 3?
Well, from my point of view, the belief inside the club, we definitely do. We've got it there. I think, like you said, you probably hit the nail on the head there. You've just got to come to form in the right times during the season, and it takes a string of 3 or 4 wins to sort of put you on the right path. And as long as you're thereabouts in that last sort of pointy end of the season, you're in with a chance. You just never know what's going to happen. Like you said, Western has lost today, and things can go your way. So as long as we can do the right things and keep picking up points where we can, hopefully we put ourselves in a good position.
Yeah.
And is the ability to share the goals around as well something that's helped you this season? Knight with 5, Steve Sokol with 5, and then 4 for Lever, Sete, and Ward as well. So not relying on one particular player. So if someone does go down, you've got a bit of backup there, perhaps.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think there's lots of goals in our team. It doesn't matter where they sort of come from. I know boys at the back have scored a couple as well. So it always helps when you're not relying on that one player. So we've done a really good job of that this season.
Yeah. Mate, well, we've really come to the end. We've got so much to talk about tonight. We've still got another guest, and we've got another couple of divisions to get through. But, look, there's a lot happening without a doubt. But just a reminder of that game on Friday night, Northcote City taking on Brunswick Juventus. It's an 8:30 p.m. kickoff, yes, at John Cain Reserve there in Northcote. Mate, wishing you all the very, very best. And you're loving the Friday night games under lights there. I mean, it's an iconic grandstand and just the feeling like you get to have the weekend off, do you?
Get it out of the way early.
I think sometimes we have a Sunday recovery session, so I'm not sure if the boys are too keen on that one sometimes. But
but just the atmosphere, midwinter and all of that kind of stuff, you're loving it at the moment?
Yeah, it's nice to play under lights. I think it gives you that feel of when you rock up to the game that you're preparing for a game. And it's just nice to play on a Friday night, and not usually that Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff is a bit different feel.
I love Friday night football. What a way to start the weekend, hey?
And just got to manage those early How early are those Sunday recovery sessions? They're like 8 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, I think we've tapered off a little bit. The boys aren't too keen on it, but I'm sure we'll be on it very soon.
Very good, very good.
These Sunday sessions. All right, mate. Well, thank you for joining us on the Football Out West show. Really, really appreciate it. Wishing Northcote City all the very best, and especially that run in the Australia Cup. Geez, it'll be great to see Northcote City get into the final 32 of the nationwide phase.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Good luck, Leo. Good luck in the Cup and the league. All the best.
Yeah, mate, we've gone the eastern suburbs, we've done the northern suburbs, we've covered the now we're about to the western suburbs, the northwestern suburbs.
Coming to a ground near you could be our motto, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. But folks, thank you for being with us tonight. It has been a massive show, but we're still got a lot to get through. We're going to look at the NPL3 competition before we take a little bit of a break, and then we have our final guest as well. But before we look at the NPL3 competition, let's just put the NPL. That's the women's. Is that the women's
VPLW there?
Yes, VPLW. I haven't got the NPLW ladder. Because there's been a few games being played earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, really big game this afternoon. I saw the end of, unfortunately, I was stuck in traffic and I sort of missed the good bits, but I just saw the very end of South Melbourne 4, Burundurra Kerry Eagles 3. So a 7-goal thriller at Lakeside in the NPLW this afternoon. So certainly a lot of action hotting up in the NPLW, particularly as these A-League players are dropping into the competition at the various clubs, and the standard and the competition is just getting bigger and better.
Yeah, I think Calder United, boosted by some of those A-League W players as well. They had a big win, 6-2 over Football Victoria emerging. But let's move on to the NPL Victoria 3 competition. There we go. This is another interesting competition. Nunawading City, I think, on the weekend lost. Melbourne Victory also lost, which is an amazing thing. North Sunshine have now jumped into second spot. Goulburn Valley Suns have moved into fourth spot, and they're knocking on the door of the top 2. Caroline Springs had a good win, and you can go through some of those results. So they're edging their way up. This is another interesting division, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Georgie's with the 1-0 away win at Essendon Royals. And you mentioned the North Sunshine Eagles. I was there as they lost in the shootout on Tuesday night to State League 1 side Yarraville. Well, they've bookended that loss with wins either side of that. Or should I say a win after that at least. Beating Ballarat City 3-0 there at Moorshead Park. And Beau Morris 2-1 over Geelong was the other result. Also, Burundurra Kerry Eagles 6-1 emphatic over Box Hill. Doveton, a couple of wins on the bounce there against Nunawading. And Goulburn Valley Suns, they're enjoying their football again, I think, the Goulburn Valley Suns, and getting the wins, particularly up at Shep with a 2-1 win over a talented group of Victory youngsters.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because a lot of those teams, in fact, I think all of the top 4 teams, the top 5 teams, are playing away games this weekend. Box Hill United host Caroline Springs on Friday night. Essendon Royals are at home to North Sunshine Eagles. Ballarat City, the bottom side, they host Nunawading City on Saturday. And also on Saturday, Beau Morris are at home to Melbourne Victory. Burundurra Kerry Eagles host Goulburn Valley Suns. So all those top 5 teams, wow, they're all away from home. And then we've got Doveton taking on Geelong at Waratah Reserve. So a very, very interesting round of matches coming up in the NPL3 Victoria competition. Steve, we're going to take a very short break. When we return, it's time for our last guest of the evening. We're going to be talking State League 1 football, and we'll be talking to the Upfield Soccer Club coach, Ozan Kara. His team is newly promoted, playing in State League 1 for this year for the first time. And we'll find out all about how they're doing as well. So, folks, don't go away. It is the Football Out West show. We're fast approaching stoppage time. Not much longer to go, but it has been a big show so far tonight. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with you very, very shortly.
Carpentry by NJT is based in the western suburbs and has many years of experience to assist you in sourcing any and all of your carpentry needs. Carpentry by NJT are great supporters of local soccer clubs in Melbourne's western suburbs, including ambitious State League One outfit Sydenham Park Soccer Club. Home Builders Corp, meanwhile, is a Melbourne-based construction company by the same owners with more than 15 years' experience. Home Builders Corp specialises in new homes and unit developments. With attention to detail, they work to the highest standard to satisfy their customers with a very quick turnaround. For further details about how either Carpentry by NJT or Home Builders Corp can help you, contact owner-manager Nick on 0410 576 018 or via email at nick@homebuilderscorp.com.au. Carpentry by NJT and Home Builders Corp are the proud major sponsors of the Football Out West show.
Welcome back to the Football Out West show. And before we get to our next guest, let's quickly bring up the Victorian Premier League VPLW ladder. Some very interesting results earlier today. Essendon Royals and Brunswick Juventus and Ringwood City are all on top there. Sharing 21 points, Royals and Juventus at the moment by virtue of a better goal difference. But the big news today was Ringwood City defeating Brunswick Juventus 4-1, in fact. And that's a huge result. Brunswick Juventus previously had gone 7 games, 7 wins. So that was quite an amazing result there. Casey Comets defeating Eltham Redbacks 3-1. And Spring Hills defeated South Yarra 1-0. And in the Battle of the Cellar Dwellers, Glen Waverley defeated Monbulk Rangers 6-1. Essendon Royals did take on Melbourne University, but we don't have a score for that particular game. But that was VPLW. And if we quickly have a look at State League 2 before we move on to State League 1. State League 2, Clifton Hill there. Some big news. And once again, the Ray man, he came up with some, he's showing up some interesting in the comments section. Big headline of the week. John McShane from Clifton Hill has received a 9-game suspension from the Football Victoria match review panel for his slice of tomato. Brenton Talk, that is a red card after he got an R6-4 offence. Okay, so if that is true, John McShane, a former NPL player, he's out for 9 weeks. So I wonder how that is going to affect the battle for the top spot. Altona East, Phoenix, they're in second spot. And then you got Western Suburbs breathing down their neck. They're on 19 points, followed by Mill Park, Hume United, Albion Rovers. We don't have the result of the Westvale Olympic and Epping City game. Geelong Rangers and Hoppers Crossing fought out a 2-2 draw in the big British rivalry round. Steve, let's talk State League 1 football. We're going to bring up the ladder. And if you've got the results there, we'll go through the State League 1 games.
Yeah, we do. Big win at home for Whittlesea United, 5-1 over FC Strathmore. Banyule City going along with the win there against Whittlesea Rangers. Banyule at the wrong end of the table at the moment, but they're trying to work their way up. Corio, really good win on the weekend for them, 4-1 over Keilor Park, bottom placed Keilor Park, admittedly. We'll speak more about the upfield match, 2-2 at Sydenham Park. Altona City 2-0 over the Brimbank Stallions, and Yarraville Glory may have had a Australia Cup hangover because they lost 4-0 to Westgate on the road on the weekend.
Yeah, there we can see the ladder there. Altona City, they just seem to be the runaway competition leaders at the moment. They just are streaming ahead with another win to their belt on the weekend. Sydenham Park are in second spot. Westgate very much breathing down their necks and eyeing that elusive second spot at the other end of the competition standings. It's a close one there. Keilor Park, they're yet to record a win, but above them, Banyule City and Corio and Whittlesea Rangers. Well, not much separates those three teams. But the team we're going to be talking about is the team that's positioned in 6th position, and there's no less than 4 teams all on 13. So a good result could mean you go up a few notches. A bad result could mean you just drop down a few notches. Anything can happen. And what an interesting league That one is the State League 1 competition. So let's find out all about the State League 1 and what's happening there. He's our next guest, Ozan Kara from Upfield. Ozan, welcome to the Football Out West show, and thank you for joining us on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys. How are we?
Very good, mate.
Very well, thanks, Ozan. Now, all right, we'll get right into it then. State League 1, how have you found it so far this season, coming up from the State League 2 previously? You've been around the club for a few years now, I think 5, Craig Filer tells me. How have you seen the club's trajectory and the standard of competition that you find yourselves in these days?
Yeah, look, this is my 6th year at the club, 5 years as a coach. So we've obviously had a lot of success in recent years. And, State 1 was always going to be challenging for us, given we were so heavily reliant on a visa player model coming through, State 3 and State 2. So we did a complete rebuild. 17 new players have come into my squad. So our challenge was obvious in that we had to integrate all those players. Albeit, State 1 is a very tough competition. I think, it's very fast. You don't have time on the ball. Teams are very dynamic, very aggressive, well organised. So, when you overlay that on top of a brand new squad, we didn't get off to the start that we would have liked. But the group have really come together in the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks, and we're picking up some momentum now. So. Hopefully we can continue that run.
Yeah, as we're sort of moving towards the halfway mark of the season, you pretty much have played all teams. Well, actually, this will be the halfway mark. So after the next round, you'll have played every team. Altona City, obviously, if we look at the ladder positions, they are the standouts. There's no doubt about that. I'll put the ladder back on there. But there's quite a, from Sydenham Park all the way down to even to Whittlesea Rangers. Anything can happen. You string 3 good results or something like that, and you could be shooting all the way up. Who, in your opinion, at the moment is the teams most likely to fight for promotion? So not necessarily just the top 2 teams now, but who are the teams that have got a genuine kind of call to arms, I suppose, with regards to the promotion?
Look, early to call, but I don't think it's any coincidence that Altona and Sydenham are top 2, both quality sides, very very different teams. I mean, credit to Michael and his coaching staff at Altona. They've got a very tight knit group, well structured, well drilled. When we played them a few weeks ago, I'm sure you're aware, our game was called off due to a terrible injury to our goalkeeper. So we were 3-1 down at the time, deservedly down because they were, dominant. Sydenham Park, I mean, we played them on the weekend. Very, very good side. They've got half a dozen or so match winners in their own right. But a very different outfit to Altona. So, as I said, I don't think it's any coincidence that those 2 teams are in the pole positions.
And one of your good players you picked up, Vanny Shamoon, 7 goals in 7 appearances. Can you talk a little bit about his contribution in the squad?
Vanny's contribution was almost immediate. He came to us from Werribee. A good friend of mine, Dom, was very supportive of that move. He was plagued with injury through the pre-season, so a little bit unlucky not to have had more regular game time at Werribee, which was to our advantage, I guess, at Upfield. So we had to sort of nurture him back through to fitness, and 7 games, 7 goals speaks for itself. He's a terrific character as well, really good in the dressing room. So just overall, a gem of a bloke and a cracking player.
Yeah. This week, as we said, to mark the halfway point of the season, round 11 action sees Upfield travel to Strathnava Reserve to take on FC Strathmore. And they're a side that have been yo-yoing quite a fair bit in in recent times. They're in 7th position, but they share the same amount of points as yourself. Do you know much about Strathmore? And you know, what are you doing to prepare for this weekend's game?
Yeah, Strathmore are a traditional rival of ours. So we used to tussle back in State League 3. So, yeah, know them well. I mean, I've watched them a number of times this season. It can get a bit interesting down in the valley there when the weather conditions aren't permitting. So hopefully the weather holds out.
A good forecast for this Friday leading into the weekend I've seen, so that might help.
That's good.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's that time of year you just don't know.
Yeah, you could get flooded out in the Mooney Ponds Creek. Just gets a bit of a high line coming through there.
That's right. So look, I've got some fond memories of the challenges we've had over the years. We'll go into the game with the highest of respect for our opponents, as we do every week. We've done our analysis. Whilst their results have been up and down, I think they can be a dangerous team when they're on. So, we will certainly prepare accordingly.
Yeah.
And just on your home venue, Gibb Reserve, how is the facility going there as it comes into winter? And the club does some innovative things. I saw you recently had a Monday night game against Banyule, and you do some things with broadcasting, Facebook live streams and stuff like that too. Is it about the club trying to be innovative and staying ahead of the pack?
Yeah, look, I think all the on-field success that we've had is great, and that's what's seen, I guess, on face value. But there's a lot of things that happen in the background, which I guess support that success. The facilities have been progressively being upgraded over the last sort of 3 to 4 years. We had the floodlights put in a few years ago, so we play the Friday night games. We had the ground re-sown 2 seasons ago, so that's really come good now. So heading in the right direction. I mean, recently we got some really good news that the Hume City Council are going to invest upward of $8 million, I believe.
Wow.
Upgrading those facilities. Yeah. So, the club is really going places. We're very, very ambitious, both, I guess, from a football perspective at a senior level, but then sort of, there's a whole heap of infrastructure projects and investment into junior development.
That's fantastic. That is really, really good to hear. As we turn our attention to this weekend, we'll go through the fixtures. Friday night, there are 2 games happening. Whittlesea Rangers hosting Sydenham Park at Epping Stadium. And then we've got Yarraville at home to Banyule City. That's at McIver Reserve, also on Friday night. On Saturday, Whittlesea United hosting Corio, Keilor Park at home to Brimbank Stallions, Altona City against Westgate at Kim Reserve on Saturday night. That should be a good one, first versus third. And, of course, we mentioned the FC Strathmore upfield game. That's happening at Strathnava Reserve at 3 p.m. on Saturday. Ozan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a bumper edition of the Football Out West, and thank you for your contribution. It's always great to talk. I always find this, Steve, it's great to talk to the clubs that we kind of don't get a chance to talk to a lot.
Absolutely.
It's really getting a real good insight into what is happening. And it seems to me, like what you've just been saying, telling us some great things happening at Upfield. So we look forward to, following from afar and seeing the progress there.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Great job on the show. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ozan. All the best for the rest of the season.
Cheers.
Appreciate it. And, mate, that brings us to the end of another quality show. Craig has done well. Craig, by the way, folks, Craig Filer, sometimes unable to make it on a Sunday night, but he does a great job getting all the guests together and assembling an all-star lineup. And he certainly had his hands full today, but he did very, very well in the end. So
he did indeed. And I tell you what, I remember playing Upfield once when I was playing for Surf Coast Reserves, and the match was called off at halftime because the ball was blowing away off the pitch. It was that windy at Upfield one day. It's one of those funny memories that you'll never forget from about 2009. So I think the pitch was lacking a bit of grass coverage, and as soon as the wind blew, it just blew the ball into the car park, which is pretty good. But big thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight. We've had heaps of good comments there. Looks like Clint's enjoying himself as well. So big hello to everyone, and a special hello to Joel in East Geelong tonight as well. And thanks for your company tonight, Tonci, as well. And of course, as you said, well done to Craig. I think he's got about three mobile phones. He's got one burner and a second one as well, and he's just texting players and coaches and saying who can get on, who can get on the show. And it could be your club next week. So certainly put your hand up and be part of the Football Out West show.
Yeah, tomorrow night we continue with the game of two halves, the global game and the local game as well. The global game, we'll be talking to a Queensland-based coach who is very, very, very prominent in the development of young female footballers, and has got one footballer at the moment trialling or about to trial in Europe. His name is Tom Kenny, and he was involved with the Brisbane City Football Club as well. We will also be speaking to the Geelong Galaxy United president, Marina Krasic, and she has just been named the Football Victoria Female Football Week Volunteer of the Year, so received that award. So that should be a fantastic interview. And by the way, that, of course, like every Monday, is simulcast live right here on the Football Out West show's Facebook and YouTube channel. So a lot of football happening this weekend, folks.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Stay with us tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Good night, Steve, and good night, folks.
Good evening.
Bye-bye.